Okay, so thank you very much for joining us today. So tonight we have Aaron Gillane, who is an Irish Limerick hurler who plays as a right corner forward. He plays for his club Patrick's Well and at interquarter county level with the Limerick senior hurling team. He has won 2 Munster titles, 2 NHLs and 2 All-Stars, as well as 2 All-Irelands, so pretty impressive. Just to start off, like, how does it feel to, like, obviously hear all your achievements? Like, is it weird that the way that I'm, like, calling it all out when you're, like, listening to all your achievements?
I don't know. I suppose the first thing, anyway, thanks a million for inviting me on. I'm delighted to be here and delighted to be helping out and to be talking about you. I suppose the one thing when you're naming or when you're listing out the things that I've won there, I don't know, is this being greedy, or whatever, but the initial thing that's going through my head is, gee, I can't wait to get back training and try and add to them as quick as possible. So when
Yeah,
you're playing
that's
sport,
good.
I suppose you only have a 10 or 11 year window, so try and win as much as you can when you're playing, because you'll have plenty of time in a few years to look back on it.
Right. That's good. So I'm just going to give the first question over to Eleanor. So you go ahead, Eleanor.
Yeah, our first question is, how did you get into hurling?
So I don't know, I'm from Limerick, obviously in a small little village called Carrick-on-Suir. I don't know if you heard of it. So it's going to be hard to understand that all there is to do in Carrick-on-Suir is to play hurling. There's absolutely nothing else. There's no football team, no rugby team. When we were growing up, there was no soccer team. There's a bit of a soccer team there now, but still nothing major. So no, growing up, that's all we had, I suppose, is the minute we were old enough to hold a hurley, just go out there and puck around with your brother or sister or with your cousin or your uncle or whatever. And then you're just being pulled and dragged around to watch matches and kind of get the feel for it then. And next thing when you're old enough, sure, you're in the middle of it and you're playing away and you're just carrying on that tradition, I suppose.
And how old were you when you started, like, properly?
I suppose it's kind of the same for everyone. You really start off when you're 5 or 6. I think the first age is under 6s. So you can't throw children up to the field when they're 3 or 4, because then it becomes a babysitting service. But no, I'd say maybe 5. 5, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm getting old now. I'm playing nearly 20 years now at this stage. I'm pushing on.
Yeah, that's a long time.
It is, but sure, I enjoy it. So I know no different, and it's not a chore for me. It's one of my hobbies. So and it keeps me going at times and gives me something to do, I suppose.
Sounds good.
Do you still have your first hurley, I wonder?
Really, I doubt it. Good question, or something I never thought of before.
Yeah, because I know some families are like that, like, they keep the first hurley or whatever.
Yeah. No, my parents now are good for holding on to stuff, but Jeannie, I never asked them about the first hurley. If you come into my house now, there's like frames with jerseys hanging up everywhere and like pictures of stuff hanging up everywhere. So well, it's cool stuff to look back on. But I must inquire about seeing that I still have my first hurley. I'd say
Yeah,
for me,
because that makes it so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then the next question is, what has been the biggest highlight of your career?
Biggest highlight of my career, I would say there's a couple now, to be fair. Obviously the one that stands out the most is winning both the All-Irelands, but if I kind of take a different angle at it, I'd probably go winning with my club in 2016, winning the county final with Patrick's Well in 2016. So as I said, we're only a tiny little village with a small population. We're playing against some cities and towns with massive numbers around the place. So for us to get over the line and win in 2016, I think it was our first time in 13 years. So it was massive for us. And just to see the impact that it had on the whole village, and especially the old people like our grandparents and stuff, just see how much it meant to them, it was unreal. So that's one that really sticks out in my head.
Like you talk it, so I don't know if you can hear my accent, but I'm actually from South Africa. So, and Eleanor's she's from Germany. She's actually one of the exchange students that joined us this year. Anyway, so first of all, it's just so funny that like we're both kind of like foreign to Ireland and we're talking to you about hurling. And it's obviously I've been to a few hurling matches myself, and I think the sport is great. But anyway, so you're talking about how small like your town is, and sure, we're living in a small town down in Carrick-on-Suir, Tipperary, but it's like when I moved here and how like hurling is such, it's only really played here. I know it's played a little bit over in Australia and places like that, but the sport was born in Ireland anyway.
Yeah.
But like I really got to like learn and appreciate how like especially the small towns, like how hurling, like the game of hurling can bring like the whole town together, and how like it's a really proud moment for when like you're able to represent your town in like those big achievements.
Yeah, I think you've summed it up perfectly there, to be honest. Brings so much joy to people, I suppose. In some places you can almost say that it's almost like a religion, you know, just worshipped. So it kind of gets people from one end of the week to the other. So it's great in that way, you know. So it's something to look forward to for people too. So no, I can't fault it now at all.
Elena, do you want to do the next question?
Yeah, when you think about your highlights, you also have lowlights probably of your career. Like, have you had already lowlights, or were they just like highlights?
Oh no, Jeannie, there's plenty of lowlights too. If I had to pick out a few, like I suppose winning with Limerick, say, was a big thing in 2018, and there was a lot made of us, and this team were here, they're going to be here for a long time, and you know, all this blah blah blah, but stuff we wouldn't really take any notice of or wouldn't really listen to. Then I suppose like we started off 2019, started off unreal, and just all of a sudden played the All-Ireland semi-final, got knocked out, and you're kind of just there in a whirlwind, and like, you know, what's after happening or what's going on, like this isn't in the script, this isn't supposed to happen. So when something like that happens, it doesn't be long bringing you back down to earth, and you know, like giving you the impression that there's not going to be one hand here, not going to be won by what the newspaper reporters are saying. You know, I should put in the hard work, and you know, whoever works the hardest and whoever's the best team at the end of the day will win. So that was really something that stuck out to me.
All right, yeah.
Like how do you deal with like when you like you said, like you get knocked down and it's obviously devastating. Is it hard to like build up the team's like spirit, or like how do you cope with this? Like obviously you have a passion for the sport, so how do you get back, you know, your spirit?
I suppose when you win, everyone is all for you and they're all about you and they're all patting you on the back, telling you how great you are. When you lose, you're left there in the corner, you're left to fend for yourself, you know. And then luckily that it is a team sport, so we can go back to training on the Tuesday or the Friday, suss out whatever needs to be sussed out. And genuinely, the only thing you can do to get over something like that is just to work hard and put it right. It's as simple as that. Just work hard, and if you put in the hard work, you'll be rewarded for it. If you're going to be bluffing, you'll be found out. So luckily enough, there's 35 or 36 of us there with our heads well screwed on, and we know how to put in the hard graft, I suppose. We've seen the rewards we've gotten from it in the last couple of years.
Yeah, exactly. And it must be so rewarding seeing, like, you know, like you said, like all those achievements and everything. So now what we're going to do is just like a rapid question. So it's not really, it's just like a fun kind of whatever you want to call it. So I'll let Elena start with the first one.
Yeah, if you had a movie or like a series, what would it be?
Oh, plenty of time for that now over the last couple of months. If I had to pick one, what would I pick? Jeannie, I've watched so much.
Or like your all-time favorite movie?
My all-time favorite, I would probably go with Power.
Oh, okay.
You ever see that?
No, is it on Netflix or?
It's on Netflix, yeah. Jeannie, I was addicted to that. I used to come home to college and have my whole day planned out. I was going to do this assignment and study for that assignment, but I'd sit down and I could watch Power for 4 or 5 hours. So no, I was glued to that now. It was unreal.
So you would recommend it to us to watch it?
Definitely, yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's really gripping now. It's a good story to it. So real as well.
What's it about?
I suppose it's about crime and kind of gangland and all that. So, you know, it's kind of all these, I suppose, at the end of the day, they're bad news stories, but it's kind of everything that we're hearing in the news these days. So when you can kind of relate one thing to another, you know, you kind of piece everything together. So it just makes it so relatable and so believable as well.
Right, right. Well, we're going to definitely have to watch it.
Do check it out, and
What do you do on your rest days?
watch Netflix, chill out, don't do much. I bring the dog for a walk. I do as little as possible, anyway.
Oh, so you
As
don't have
little as
like big plans or anything like that?
no, especially not in the last couple of months. Anyway, sure, we're very loud outside the front door.
Yeah, true.
But,
Yeah.
no, I suppose on other rest days, I suppose when we're training, we're kind of always with the same group of people, and I suppose that's hard enough. Then not seeing other people who you grew up with the whole way. You know, like maybe people from your hometown that aren't on the Limerick team. So I suppose on rest days, it's nice to meet up with them or get lunch with them or go for a cup of coffee with them or something. So that's always something I try and fit in as well.
Right, that's good.
And
Okay.
what was your least favorite subject in school, like when you have to think back?
Was Mr. Tobin listening? Am I allowed to say geography is my worst subject?
Really won't listen.
No, I was actually handy enough at geography. What I was actually
Oh.
useless at is German. You could have given me some tips in that. Yeah.
Okay. And were you a good student?
I'd like to think so now. I'm not sure what Mr. Tobin told you. No, I was grand, I suppose. I actually ended up going back and doing teaching practice. I was on teaching practice in Carrick with Mr. Tobin. So it's great to see the other side of the table as well.
Brilliant.
Yeah, like she's so good at German and she speaks French at the same time. So
She can do it also.
yeah, exactly. Do you ever eat junk food? And like, if you do, what would your go-to meal be?
I suppose I don't really, because we're so used to just eating proper healthy food. You know, when you kind of get into a routine of doing something, you just kind of stick to it, and your brain kind of stays focused on that. But I suppose if I had to pick something, I'm a devil for ice cream. I'd eat any sort of ice cream. I'd eat it for hours. I suppose that's not too bad though.
No,
So
no, it's
No,
not.
I wouldn't be too bad on the junk food because I know I'd die if I went to training, so it's not worth it.
But you don't eat any like sweets or chocolate or like a burger at McDonald's?
Maybe after a match I would. If we won an important match now, I'd treat myself. But not
Yeah.
during the week when I'm training or when I'm playing or coming up to matches. Because as I said, you'd go training then, and I don't know what it affected that much, but it would definitely be in my head, and I was like, oh, I can't breathe now, motivate. I shouldn't have eaten this or I shouldn't have done that. So I just cut it out altogether and just stick to water and leaves, basically. Healthy food.
And what does your weekend look like if it's like a normal weekend?
Weekend.
Yeah.
I suppose generally when we're training, I suppose you maybe get a Saturday off, so that's not too bad. But it's not as if, oh, you have a Saturday out or you have a Saturday off. It's not as if, oh, you can go out and go for dinner and go to the discos and stuff, but you're probably training the next morning at 8:30 or 9:00. So as again, you're just resting, meeting people you don't usually get to meet, getting the proper food in you, and just preparing and getting yourself ready for training the next morning.
Okay. And how long do you do your workouts or like your training every day?
If we're training as a team, Jeannie, it could be, if we were training, I would say at 7:00, if I finished work at 5, I'd probably go straight from work. I'd train and I'd be there for 5 or 5:45, and then say the physios be there. So if you go in and get your ankle strapped or your leg rubbed out or anything, that could take a few minutes. Then tugged out. You could be out in the field an hour before training, maybe practicing frees or taking shots or whatever. So
Yeah.
and then training could go on for 2 hours. And then by the time you shower and eat your food, so you could be there from 5:30 maybe till about 10 or 10:30.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a long old evening, and then up for work the next morning.
Is it every day or like 5 times a week or?
I know you'd be doing that much training maybe 3 or sometimes 4 times a week, and then you could maybe another 2 days during the week could be doing an hour and a half in a gym session or whatever. But it wouldn't be that long every night now.
Okay.
If Limerick wasn't in the All Ireland, who would you shout for?
Can I pick Patrick's well?
But like,
I'm a club team.
But like, if they weren't in it, like, would you not go for another county?
Genie, I can't say that. I'd be killed. If I had to pick someone else, pick someone who has no hope of winning it. I'd pick maybe Kerry and Antrim or something.
Right, right.
Someone that we'll never be playing, so it's okay.
So we just got a few questions from our Instagram, and one was kind of answered already. It was just like what age you started, but you said 5, isn't that right?
Yeah, around 5, yeah.
And then the second one is, who is the hardest team to play against?
Question, I suppose to pick the hardest team, I suppose it's a toss-up maybe between playing Galway last year or playing Galway this year, sorry, and between playing Kilkenny last year. So they're really tough matches, were really intense. Didn't really have a minute to breathe on the ball. Just really in your face, very physical matches. So yeah, it's hard to pick one of them, but one of them Leinster teams.
Right. Well, I think that's all our questions. And do you have anything else to ask?
No, I think I'm fine. But thank you so much for taking time for this interview. We really appreciate it. If you want to say like your names on social media or thank anyone, you can go ahead.
That's just my normal name, that's all. Just Aaron Gillane, that's all. So,
Brilliant.
I'm not that complicated.
Well, thank you very much.